All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining me. I'm actually just going to show my video really quick, just so you know there's someone talking to you, and then I'm actually going to hide it. My connection's been a little spotty, so that's why I just want to make sure I'm still connected. So we'll just go ahead and do that. So I'm actually rocking the bedhead look right now. I think it's a craze that's going on throughout the country. So I thought I would just be honest and show that that's what I am doing as well. So I'm going to stop my video, and then I'm actually going to share my screen with you. So we're going to start with the PowerPoint. Should be at the beginning. Oops, I'm a little bit ahead. I'm sorry. All right. So hopefully everyone can see that. And then I'm actually going to bring up. Okay. All right. So we will go ahead and get started. So again, my name is Chris Perez. I'm the Student Activities Coordinator at Compton College. And I'm going to be presenting on social media and leadership, cultivating student leaders to create an authentic digital identity. So really what I'm going to be doing for this part is I really want to, as far as the presentation format, I do want to keep the verbal questions towards the end, just because I know I have a very limited amount of time with all of you. I just want to make sure I'm giving you as much content as I can, and then we can really utilize the Q&A portion to kind of answer those unanswered questions or to kind of maybe explain some kind of bigger concepts. As far as Zoom functions, I'm planning to use the chat for questions and engagement, and then also the participant window, just so that I can see if you are liking what I'm saying, not liking what I'm saying, things like that. So that was my intention for that. And then also the go faster and go slower part. I know I can babble a little bit or go a little too fast. So just let me know through there, and I will try and slow down for all of you. And then I know I just talked about the camera again. Feel free to turn it off, no big deal. So we will get started with the next slide. So really what we're going to do on this part is it's just a quick roadmap. These are the intended conversation topics. So as we go, as we have dialogue, we may change things, but that's pretty much where we're going to be going. And before we get to kind of the rest of the presentation, I just wanted to ask for everybody just kind of for a moment of silence and reflection right now, just because I know this whole COVID-19 experience has really changed everything, especially in the field of education, and really just for us as individuals. So I just want to make sure that we're conscious of two things. One of them would be the students. I know we are in this entirely different formats. We're trying to reach the students virtually. We're trying to stay connected with them, be intentional, all of these things. But the thing that I want to think about is a specific kind of student that when we send them home, the student that may be asking themselves, well, where is home? Or what is home? Or I don't want to go home. That's why I come to campus. Or the ones that have their lives completely changed now and have these other insecurities, these other stresses that are added to them. So just being conscious of them as we do all of the work that we're doing. And then the other ones as well is just a moment of silence for those that we did lose during this COVID-19 crisis. I know we've talked about kind of the benefits and what it's done for us as people, but unfortunately there are people who are no longer here. So I just wanted to give them the time and the space to just know that we acknowledge them, and we are sorry that this thing happened and has really taken the lives of those that we knew. All right, so we will go ahead and get started. So one of the questions that I wanted you to think about is, what are your top 5 values? So I want you to take about 30 seconds to think about it. If you already know your top 5 values, go ahead and feel free to chat if you feel like sharing there. If not, you can keep it to yourself. But just let me know, what are your top 5 values? So if you're unsure of kind of what a value is or how I'm defining values, I'm looking at like the principles or standards of behavior, kind of what's important to you, but just something that you look at that has a label that tells you what you believe in, what you're passionate about, anything like that. So I'll give you some time to think of them, and then we'll go on to the next part. So Daniel said kindness, compassion, curiosity, joy, courage, yes. I won't read the one privately just because it's private, but know that there was another one. And we do share one of them, by the way. That first one, I really like that one. A positive influence on others, yeah. All right, so as those last ones kind of trickle in, the reason why I bring that up when we talk about our values is we're also looking at too, what are these values saying about us, right? Honesty, courtesy, perfect. Yes, thank you, Donna. Really looking at what are these values saying about us, right? When we put these out, or when you have these values in front of you, even as you look in the chat for those of you that typed it out, are these values reflecting your preferences? Are they reflecting your beliefs, likes, interests? As I read these things, I'm starting to get like a feeling about you. Some of them make sense to me, right? My comments on that first one, dedication as well. For me, I resonate with some of them because it's like, oh yeah, that's me too, or oh yeah, I can see why you put that. That makes sense, right? There's some that we kind of drift to, and there's others that it's just curiosity. Oh, that's interesting. You put that. That's interesting that that's one of your values. But whatever we put out as far as our values, it does show our preferences, our beliefs, likes, interests. It's a reflection of us. So as we look at these values, we have to think about our social media presence. We have to think of the content that you put out for those of you that are on social media. So if you look through all of your accounts, all of your posts, your content, everything that you've put out as far as social media, does your post or your content, right, reflect preferences, beliefs, interests, likes? Does it do that? If I scroll through your feed and I take all the pictures, am I going to get a sense of you as a person? So that's why we're really into this concept of values. And just to share, because I feel like if all of you did it, I feel like I should do the same as well. So these are my top 5, right? Authentic, intentional, adaptable, minimalist, and feminist. So for me, that I put out there to let all of you know, these are the 5 values that I think represent me. Okay. And I want you to hold on to them and think about those 5 as we go through the rest of this presentation. So what we're going to be looking at now is how we're defining digital identity. We want to look at how that relates to our physical identity. So in this case, digital identity, and I'll go to the next slide, we'll go a little bit more detail of what that actually means. But digital identity is more of like our online identity, our online presence, our screen names, right? Whatever kind of term we use, but it's just how we are online. When we look at our physical identity, we're looking at how we are offline, not in like the physical sense, like a physical body, but how are we offline? My identity might be that I'm an athlete, right? So maybe I tend to wear more athletic gear, right? I might be Mexican, so I might wear a Mexican shirt that has a Mexican flag on it, right? All these identities that we have that we express, sometimes physically, right? But a physical representation of who we are, or what are our interests, preferences, and likes. So what we're aiming to do is actually push those circles together. So if you see that green kind of area in the middle, we want to make that bigger, right? So we don't have necessarily an online persona, right? Just kind of what like the influencers are doing now, that it's more of an act necessarily of this is how I am online. I need to be this kind of person versus, well, when a camera's off, when I'm not being recorded, when I'm not doing live streams, this is how I actually am. They are very conscious of who they are online and offline. So for us, it's really kind of going in that opposite direction and really pushing them together to make it feel more authentic. Next slide. There we go. So this is how we're going to go ahead and define digital identity. So we're going to really break it up into 2 sections. Within that, when we have digital identity, we look at what are our uses and what is the content that we're putting out. So uses, we talk about connecting, updating, sharing. So you follow people or you're friends with people, right, depending on the platform, because you want to stay connected to them in some way. For some of you, you connect with family. Some of you connect with friends, old coworkers, right, celebrities, brands, right? But there's some connection you want to have to them. You use it to post updates. Hey, I got accepted into this school. Hey, I have a new sibling now. Hey, I'm in this new relationship. I just turned 21. Here's my first red cup. Like all these things that we update, right? This information that we put out because we want people to know, hey, this is kind of what's going on in my life. And then also looking at the types of content that we have. So each each post, right, has some words to it usually. It could just be through hashtags. It could just be a quote, something like that. And also the media and the action part of it. So is it a video? Is it a picture? Is it a meme? Right? What does that content actually look like? And then the action part of it is when we share these things out, what do we want the others, right, our followers, our friends, right, whatever platform we're on, how do we want them to engage with it, right? Do we want them to like it? Do we want them to save it? Do we want them to share it? Do we want them to follow us, right? There's a certain goal behind what we're trying to do as we kind of create these pieces. So when we look at the professional use, so I want to give you this page that I found. So as you're looking at this and you go ahead and utilize chat, what are your thoughts about this particular account, right? What feelings is it giving you? So for example, let's say I'm looking at this and I see, okay, there's some like outdoors pictures. So it's like an outdoorsy kind of person, right? What does it say about the person who puts this out? So I'll give you about 30 seconds to go ahead and think about that. You know, you're looking at this, what feeling do you get about this person? What could you assume about this person, right, with this account that you see in front of you? I'll go ahead and give you some time. Feel free to share in chat. Just let me know what you think about this person and this account. Yeah, nature lover, detailed, minimalist, concise. Yeah, absolutely. Traveler. Great eye for photography. Yeah. Yeah, it really shows the artistic work. Yeah, especially with the nature too. Adventurous. Yeah, absolutely. So we can see now there's somewhat of a theme as far as something with nature, right? Outdoors, traveling, right? But just something of not being inside or not necessarily being inside a home, right? That's usually how we see that. So all of these things that you're talking about, right? The assumption is that when you get that feeling, right, from this content, when you're looking at it and getting kind of those labels that you're putting on this, right? You have to wonder, is this on their end? Is this intentional? Do they want me to think these things? Do they want me to think, oh, nature lover, he's detailed, he's a minimalist, he travels, he's got great eye for photography, adventurous? Like, is that their intention? Do they want me to think these things? Because for some of you now, as you pretty much kind of labeled what you saw, right? For some of you, like, oh, I'm a nature lover too. Oh my God, this is cool. Let me engage with it. Let me see what other posts they have, right? But it gives you a sense of who they are as a person, right? So if we go to the next one, oops, hold on, sorry. Doing this from a slightly different format, so that's why I'm still got my little hiccups. But if we look at this one, right, we look at the LinkedIn profile, we see, you know, these positions, the descriptions, and I would ask you again now, based off of what you read, what do you think about this person? What do you think their passions are? What do you think they're into, right, based on their employment background? So hopefully it's big enough for all of you to see. If not, I can go ahead and read it. But student advocacy, yes. Helping people, interested in access, yeah, absolutely, yeah. hmm Right, student development, absolutely, yes. Detailed and consistent. So as those last kind of comments trickle in, I wanted to highlight this kind of slide for a second. Um, I want to ask you first. Did anybody catch the detail in this? There's one particular part. If you're really paying attention, you would know why I'm asking this question. Compton. But what about Compton? You're on the right track. Compton College is what I'm focusing on for this. So I'm actually going to share. So that was a private question. So I'm actually going to answer in public. The question was, this is yours? And the answer is yes. So if you were paying attention to my position in college in the beginning, you would know that you just talked about me. Okay. So also, what you also, well, what I'll let you know is the slide before that Instagram, that's actually mine. That's my photography one. So just know that you have all labeled me. So in knowing that, I want you to kind of go up, scroll up through chat, right? And check what you wrote, check what others wrote. Okay. So I intentionally did this to you, right? That's why I asked the question, do you think this person, right, this account, this photographer is intentionally giving you these thoughts, these feelings, these labels, right? And I will tell you the answer is yes. I can say that from firsthand experience, the answer is yes. So even as I go back and I scroll and I see what you wrote, I would agree with all of it. Absolutely. Love nature. I'm detailed. I can show you some emails that I write. My emails take about 20 minutes to write out because I'm looking at details and making sure everything's clear, concise, which is one of them. Minimalist, absolutely. Great eye for photography. Thank you for the compliment. Right? So I'm very intentional with what I put up in front of you. I wanted to give you this feeling about me because I know that's going to change our relationship. I know that's going to change what you think about me. So the fact that you said everything, all of you said what you said, and even just the ones that you thought that, right? It's still positive things that I purposely, I kind of left you breadcrumbs. I want you to come here, and I watched you follow it. And yeah, perfect. So this is how we talk about how we can be very intentional. This isn't necessarily talk about like what you can do specifically as far as the tools, right? As far as like hashtagging and things like that. There's other presentations for that. So it's just kind of the idea, but this is exactly what I was trying to do. And this is the point I was trying to prove to all of you, that you can really set the mood. You can set the opinion, right, of what people are going to have about you. So when we look at our personal use. So really what I want to look at also is, how do you use this personally? How is this a representation of you as a person, right? Because there are on social media accounts. I don't like to use the word branding so much because now I think it's overused, but still with that mindset of, if this is you, this is a reflection of who you are, it's essentially your brand. So why not be in your brand? Why not own your brand? And doing that is looking at the personal use. So let's say you connect with me in whatever capacity, whatever platform, you're scrolling through, you want to see, hey, what is this guy into? Who does he like? Who does he follow? Right? So you're going through, you're on Twitter now, and you see that I follow an account like this. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. I want you to look at that, right? You see that I follow this page. Okay, you see that I follow it. What do you think or if you're not comfortable answering about you, what do you think others people's opinions might be of me? What do you think other people would think about me? Right? If you just had to label it, nothing else, right? What's a label that they could put on me? Right? Cares about marijuana use. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the name of it. Perfect. And please also read the details of the post as well, or sorry, of the picture too. I might give you some other things that might pop into your head. Yeah, pothead. Yeah, and also, and I want to say this too. I'm glad you said that. Is it when you say your reactions, when you say what you think, please don't think that I would take this personal, because I ask students this all the time, and they go way harder than just pothead. Like I want to say thank you for just saying pothead. They go deep, they go hard. They will use the term exactly as it's used. So again, what I'm asking you here is, be honest, right? It doesn't mean it's your view. It could just be someone else, or someone else can interpret that, right? Someone can see that I follow this page and think pothead and write it off. Okay, it's a pothead. Cool. Move on. So I'll give you about 10 more seconds and then we'll go on to the next one. Interesting. Yeah, suffering from anxiety or depression. Yeah. Holistic health practices. There we go. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So not too bad. Not too personal. Can be perceived differently from where you reside. Absolutely. Yeah. That's the other thing too, is really depending, like if you know where I'm coming from, if you know what state I'm in, right, that could easily determine like, oh yes, he's following it for this reason, or another part of the state, yeah, he's following it for this reason. So absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, Chicago's now legal. So if I'm from Chicago and I follow this, maybe I probably use it. Maybe it's recreational, right? So we have that, right? Think of all the opinions, right, that you may have had, you may have shared. So let's say now we're going again. We're on Instagram this time. You see my followers. Hey, who's Chris following? What's he doing? What's going on? What's up? And you see that I follow this. Now, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. And again, if you had to give me a quick label, right, it's all hypothetical, of course, a quick label, what would you think about me now? And when I've asked students this is the slide where they go hard. Man, they tell you exactly, when you ask them, be honest, oh, they will tell you. Fitness minded, yeah, right? There's some fitness connection, right? Womanizer, there we go. Has a particular type, yeah. And again, everybody, feel free, be honest. I think, you know, things like womanizer, I think it's a reality. Someone is going to think that about me, right? Also, my sexual preference, right? These are kind of natural assumptions that we kind of have in our head. But yeah, absolutely, this could it be exactly what it is. Might know these people and follow their pages. Yeah, I might actually know them, right? Could be even related to one of them, right? All right, so one more. So we'll go back to Twitter, right? This guy into what's he do? Learning a lot about him, right? So now let's say you see that I follow him. Now, 30 seconds again, but now what would you think of me? Or what do you think others would think of me? Yes, likes fit. Well, not likes fitness. I'm assuming that's for the last slide. Follows page to stay informed, yeah. Right, kind of know what's going on, current events. I agree with them, yeah. That's why we follow people, right? We want to know what's the latest and greatest. What are they saying? Wants to learn about the person and his mindset, or follows his word to the T, or is a Republican, Trump supporter. Yeah, right. And again, all these questions, these comments, or I'm sorry, these statements, I should say, it's not crazy to think any of that, right? Whether you personally think the same as what you're typing or not, it's not crazy. It's not, wow, you're an extremist for thinking these things. It's, yeah, if you follow it, you might agree with them. You may, at the very least, you may want to know what he's saying, right? Regardless of whether you're a supporter or not, you just want to know what he's saying. And obviously he will let you know. You never have to wonder that. So is there a filter? No. Transparency, 100% with his words and what his thoughts are. But either way, all of these thoughts are not crazy to have. And that's really what I want to let all of you know, is that as you're putting out content, as you're working with students, and they don't necessarily realize, like, what is social media doing now? Like, how serious are we taking it? Right? I think there's a comment before of like, employers will look it up, and they do. There's businesses that thrive on this, right? Hire us and we'll check it for you. We'll check all of your applicants. We'll do it for you. We'll let you know what's going on, right? So there's obviously a business behind this. So really what I want to do now, and I'll wrap this part up really quick, is just look at like, what are our actions now? What do we do? How do we, recognize this problem, and how do we really move forward? And I would say first is just be intentional, right? Know exactly what you're putting out there. The thing that I don't want people to take away from all of this is saying that like I'm somehow you should be censoring yourself, right? It's more of you being critical about that and saying like, should I put this out? Whatever this is, right? Maybe it's a post, it's a selfie, it's a location you're at, whatever. Is this going to be a representation of me and those values that we talked about earlier? If it's not, then I would say don't post it. Because if that's not authentic to you, then to me, those two circles that we had in the beginning, you're pushing them apart when really we should be looking to push them together. So regardless of where we are, online or offline, we know what we're putting out, right? We have control over that message. The other one too is you represent your decisions, right? Whatever you decide to put out, own it, right? Even if at the time you thought it was a good idea, there are people in the world who think blackface is a good idea. Oh, it's for Halloween, so it's okay, right? There are people who think that, right? So maybe at the time when they did that, they didn't know any better. Maybe through some education, now they know, hey, that wasn't a good thing to do. Maybe I should take it down because it's not a representation of me anymore. But either way, you want to represent your decisions. And really the last one is create that right opinion about you, right? We went through this whole process. I showed you, right, these two different accounts and got all these words out of you, which is exactly what I wanted, right? So I showed all of you that I know how to create the right opinion about myself. So I just want to go ahead and wrap up and just leave you with that quote. We judge others by our intention, ourselves by our intention, others by their actions. So any questions about anything, please let me know. If not, thank you all for listening.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you so much for that presentation. As you said throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to put it into the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask the question directly. Yes, I can kick us off in here. Chris, what got you interested into doing this, into how people develop this digital identity?
Excuse me. Sorry, throat's dry. I think for me, it was just seeing that for me, it just kind of where I am right now. Sorry, my throat's really dry. And just me where I am right now, it's just knowing that I grew up with technology versus kind of our Gen Zs now. They're really born into technology. So the thoughts of kind of a pre-internet, pre-social media, just thinking about the times where like if I had to talk to someone, I had to call them on a landline if their phone wasn't busy. Just that very analog sort of connection, and remembering those times, and being able to say like I was born before the internet, before the www part, and seeing that these students are so open with their information, because really like if anybody were to just go through their feed, right, and just with a pencil and a notebook and write down all of the information that you can get from someone, because we also tell each other where we physically are when we check into places, and seeing how open they are with that information, not realizing that there are some people who can use that information in whatever way they want, and really connecting that back with the students who didn't know a time before this was the norm for them, and just letting them know that this was a time. This is still a concern. It just looks different now. This is the tech version of it. So just be aware of it, be conscious of it, and really be safe with it. Because unfortunately, anytime there's sort of an online horror story about what happened online and how that went into offline, it's tragic. You hear about all the time. So it's just informing students, hey, it may not happen to you, but just be cautious about what you're doing. Great question. How would an undocumented person be digitally out there and be authentic? I would say that's really up to themselves of what they feel, or how they feel, or how they'll show their authenticity. For some of them, like I know students who are out, who will tell you they're undocumented, unafraid. I mean, you don't have to wonder where they are because they're so passionate about it. It is their identity, right? They wear it on them. So for someone like that, If they're comfortable with people knowing about it, then post about it, right? Have a shirt that says undocumented, unafraid, participate in the hashtag that you're using, really show that, yes, I am undocumented, but this is who I am as a person, or this is how me being undocumented defines me. If you're not that way, it's, really setting, especially just being undocumented and the challenges that brings, especially in this country, really looking at, really reflecting on what are you comfortable with sharing. Maybe it's something that you're undocumented, but you don't, through your social media, you don't show it because you don't consider that to be a main part of your identity, right? There's others that you are more attached to, but either way, just giving an understanding of yourself, or getting an understanding of yourself, and then from there, figuring out what's authentic for you, what you're comfortable with, and then being intentional with what you're actually sharing out.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much. Oh, and we got another one. How can you monitor how transparent you are over social media when you aren't someone whom trusts or feels comfortable in the digital platform?
Let me see. Okay, I think really looking at, so I use the example with the students, if I were to, let's say, Diana, let's say we connected, right, through whatever platform, you might be on, and I read through your profile, right? And I always give the example of like a pencil and a pad of paper, right? What information could I get about you? You might have told me how old you are. You might have told me where you live. You might have told me through pictures or something like that, that you might be married, that you might have kids. Where's your favorite place to hang out, right? All of this information, right? So you can really look at like, what have you put out already? And if this information was being written down, what would people know about me then? Right? Because unfortunately, what you're concerned about, right, about how comfortable you are on a digital platform, when they, and I say they as in like Google, Facebook, things like that, when they give you ads, right, a generic ad for something, but they added a new word to that, which I love, and they call it relevant ads. So relevance is basically saying, we tracked all of your stuff, right, that pencil or that paper and notepad, wrote it all down, and this is what we think. So they're already doing that digitally. So that's why it's relevant ads. So if you are around your phone and you mention the word Yosemite National Park and say it 10 times a day, right, guess what your ad might be next time, right? Because unfortunately that is that's the reality of it, right? But if they're collecting that information, what information are they collecting from you? So it's really looking at how transparent you are. What are you sharing? And if you feel like, yeah, that's too much information, then when do you start to cut it back? When do you start to remove things so that you feel comfortable? And I'm sharing, my information, but not sharing all of my information. You're welcome.
And Chris, any final words that you want to leave us with as you've done this research and have done this work, things that you've seen that you think would be helpful for people to make sure that they're aware of?
Sorry, one more time. I didn't get to the beginning.
Is there any final words that you would want to leave with the group? Things that you've learned or things that you've seen, kind of how this identity building, kind of to sum up for everyone.
Yeah. I'll put my Insta handle. One of the really, it's something now that I feel has to be taught. You really have to work with your students because the new generation that's here, right, maybe as the undergrads or maybe they're first getting hired, they're really the newest generation of also student affairs professionals. This is where they come from, right? Growing up and being born into technology, especially with how fast it's changing things, right? Think of just technology from 5 years ago till now. I mean, it's getting so much, quicker and outdating itself constantly that these are now going to be the new soft skills, right? Social media is going to be a soft skill, right? Or an online presence now, because that is the reality. Social media is a thing. It's going to be here. It's just going to look different. It's going to be a different platform, right? Facebook was the one, and now we've transitioned. There's now so many more. So really work with your students and just, or your student themselves, know that this is a new skill to teach them, right? How do you go online? How do you have a digital resume, right? That's now evolved from paper. How are we teaching them these new skills so that as technology continues to influence our industry, how are they ready for those changes? How are they ready for something like this that's just been happening, where they can go get started and move forward and really show that efficiency, and just understanding for all of us that this is the new reality now. So we need to teach them properly how to use it. And that's it.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today, Chris. We appreciate it. Feel free to share any contact info that you want in the chat for anybody that wants to follow up. And now we're going to transition to the final part